Welcome to I Heart Geek.
And welcome to another episode of I Heart Geek. This is a fun episode. We're going to be talking about manimals. Not manimals, animals.
Garanimals.
Garanimals. Ooh,
Animals.
Those are good. I'm Dub. I'm here with Skeeter. I'm here with Christina. How you guys doing today? It's been a while since Christina's been on. I haven't seen you in like a week or something. How you been doing?
Good. Praying desperately. My garanimals are quiet today.
We're all keeping our fingers crossed.
I'm in our old stomping grounds. Dub,
Really?
in our old home.
Central Valley and Enterprise
and right in the middle of Enterprise right now. Victor Avenue.
Yikes. Okay, Christina, this was your topic today. We're talking about animals, and how did you come up with this? What do you think? What is your thoughts when you said, "Hey, I'm going to bring this one to Dub. Let's talk about this." What was your thoughts?
Well, I was reading an article about how we are seeing less and less animal trainers and animals in Hollywood. And it was specifically about the last two lions that work in Hollywood. And I was like, huh? I mean, I really hadn't given a thought to it. And then I started thinking a little bit more about how emotionally I am connected to movies based on the animals that are in them and how that affects our emotional experience in movies.
Okay, so let's talk about that first time that you fell in love with a movie with a animal. Okay, here's the rule I want to look on this. The animal has to be one of the main players. So who was that first one with you? Let's start with Skeeter on that one.
So, I mean, I'm going to go back to elementary school. I mean, one of the movies that we watched in school when we were talking novels or books and things like that was Old Yeller, or I think Christina brought it up earlier, but Where the Red Fern Grows. Like those.
Why are you trying to hurt me? Stop hurting me.
Right in the fields, right? Right there.
You know, you can kill any character in a movie. You kill the dog, and suddenly it's a horrible, horrible, horrible feeling. Why do they do that? Okay, sorry. Is it just the emotional thing that does it, or is it the movie itself?
I think, anytime you can yank at heartstrings, I mean, a lot of people know what heartstrings are nowadays, but, when you can get somebody in the feels, I think that's the place you're going to get them, because you can create this relationship. I mean, how quick do you make a relationship with an animal? I mean, as soon as a puppy dog puts nose to ear or just starts getting it, you're done. Like, it doesn't matter. You could not want another animal. And as soon as that happens, you're done. So you built that immediate relationship with that cute fur thing, and now you're engaged. Like, you're fully bought in. And then they take that thing from you, and you're like, really, dude? There's mean people in this movie, and you take the animal? No.
Yeah. Well, I think a big part of that is that's always one of our first childhood memories. Our first loss, 90% of the time, is our pet, be it goldfish, hamster, rabbit, dog, cat. So, Christina, what about you? What is your first big memory?
Absolutely, The Incredible Journey.
Oh.
I think I did watch both Old Yeller and Redfern, and they got me. But The Incredible Journey for me was the first story where it was heartbreaking and inspirational and absolutely beautiful at the end, all at the same time. And it involved very few people, and it was truly about the animals. And I thought that was just this fantastic experience. And I knew from that moment, I started bugging my parents. I need a dog. I need a dog. I need a dog.
Did you get one?
Did I get one? I did. I did, but we're not gonna talk about that.
Oh, must have been a Churn Creek thing. Skeeter knows
a little
what I'm
bit
talking about all the dogs on Churn Creek. Whew, all of them.
All of them.
All the time. Okay, I'm going to go a slightly different direction, and something we talked about before, and I'm going to bring this one up, is the cat from outer space. Why? I'm not a cat guy. I don't like cats. I loved that cat. It was a cool cat. It talked to you. That was the first time I was able to see, those human emotions in a pet. And it was a really fun, to me, it still stands up. I watched it probably a year ago. And I don't like movies that make me cry at the end. There's some that are okay. I can't do Old Yeller. I can't do Where the Red Fern Grows. I don't want to cry at the end. I want to be happy at the end. And the space cat decided to stay with the human. I'm like, why? You're an idiot. But doesn't matter. It's like, hey, he got a pet, a really smart pet. He got a new pet.
The cat from outer space for me it's just delightful. And I mean, first of all, Kurt Russell was just,
No, that wasn't Kurt Russell. That wasn't. That was the other guy.
Computer wore tennis shoes.
Yeah.
Yes. And sorry, but it was so much fun.
Yeah.
And I always wanted a cat. Unfortunately, I was allergic to cats, so I focused on dogs. But I think Winnie the Pooh said it the best. How good is it to love something so much that you miss it when it's gone?
Mm-hmm.
In reference to you not being able to watch the sad movies.
I can't.
I know, I get it.
So let me ask you guys this. So what makes a good performance from a pet? And I want to throw this out because, hey, we're going to be topical. Deadpool. That dog, that hideously ugly dog that we all fell in love with.
Dogpool.
Don't worry, I'm not giving spoilers, but it's gross. I don't want to touch it, but at the same time, I love it. That is just a heartstring thing. I don't think that you fell in love with this dog because it didn't give me any. I'm not going to remember it tomorrow other than that freakish tongue. So what do you think is like a memorable, this is an awesome animal performance? Start with you, Christina.
Honestly, for me, it was, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's A Dog's Purpose. And
it keeps coming back and dying and dying. And yeah, no, I'm out.
And they were trained so well.
Yeah.
That the personality really truly felt seamless and just hilarious. And it's a movie that does actually have a really good ending. So you should watch it if you haven't. But it is definitely one of the strongest, like, heartstring movies when it comes to animals that I had seen in quite some time. And that was like one of the few times they were still using actual animals.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that they've gotten that far away. We'll get to that whole.
Yeah.
I'm putting on the brakes, and we're going to talk about that next.
No, it's Hold Your Horses. We're talking about animals.
Yes. Skeeter, what do you think is that? What is that X factor with an animal that's a great animal performance?
So I'm gonna be the buddy cop guy, or the partner. The animal is the person's partner. Channing Tatum in Dog. Dude, that movie was phenomenal. Their relationship was so cool. Like, you can't get that the last time we had that was like Mel Gibson, Danny Glover kind of togetherness, right? But let's go even further, and like I just brought him up, but there was that Rescued by Ruby. It was a Netflix thing. It had Grant Gustin.
So good.
He's a Canadian Mountie, and he wanted to be a canine officer. Like, that was his goal, and he got, I don't remember what kind of dog the dog was, but like, it developed this dog and their relationship. And it was one of those, like, you wanted to fight so hard for this dog to be good and to be this canine drug dog and be an officer. And like, you just started to root for it, and you got involved. And I think really, like, that's the biggest piece. Like, for me to really get sucked in and love an animal, like an animal in a kind of a leading role position, That's where it's got to be. It's either got to be relational in some way, shape, or form, or that dog has to be, or that animal. Sorry, I used dog, but like that animal has to be like the entire story.
Yeah.
There's the latest one with that had all the voices, and was just out recently. I don't remember the name of it, but they were all on the journey to find
Hmm.
their place. Like the dog got let go out in the middle of nowhere, and he had to find his way back. But it was comedy, all mixed up into one. A lot of good characters, but it didn't have the same feel as that buddy cop kind of a really good flick. Megan Levy, the same
Yeah.
thing. Like
Yeah,
that
that's another
story.
great one. Well, and another good one is actually Free Willy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I say that because Jason James Richter actually built a pretty strong relationship with Keiko,
Yeah.
and just to watch that dynamic, and it felt very real.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
actually live where he jumps over the jetty to get free.
Nice.
That's awesome. I like Turner and Hooch. Like,
Yeah.
think back to
Turner
that
and
one.
Hooch.
Turner and Hooch was one of the older, like when I was a kid, that was a great one. Or the what Canine with James Belushi. Like
Oh yeah.
those
That's such a good
partner
one.
gigs, like always made such a good animal movie.
So what I'm hearing from you guys, and I agree with this. I put it differently, but now I'm agreeing with you guys as you're talking, is that it's when the director can assign humanity and human traits to that animal. And I feel like that's when we can relate. That's when we fall in love with the dogs. Not and I'm not talking about the heartstring ones. Yes, Old Yeller dies. Bam! Yeah. There was no humanity to that. You had the kid. You had the humanity of the kid, not the dog. Does that make sense? I mean, I'm not.
No, it does.
But I mean, Old Yeller's performance wasn't great. It could have been any dog. But there's something special when they get it from when they make that animal feel human to you, if that makes sense. Now it's hard to do. In general, I think that there's a couple of like cartoon type examples we can use, and I want to use The Amazing Mr. Limpet with Don Knotts playing a fish. Wasn't a real fish, it was a fish.
It was too.
But I like that the humanity, because the anamorphic with the human stuff. So I think it can work well with cartoons, but that's when you have to put a lot of human into the fish. It's not just a fish in the fish. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Now, where I don't think this is working, CGI doesn't do. Okay, I want to throw out this example. The Walking Dead. I quit the nail in the coffin. Glenn died, and I was hanging on by a thread. And then, dude shows up with that weird CGI lion. I was done. I've not watched an episode since because it was so terrible and took me so far out. Now, could they have done it better if what I've liked if the CGI was better? I don't know. Humanity to it.
Yeah, no, I agree with that so very much, because going back to Free Willy, they mostly used Keiko, and then they used animatronics, and then towards the very end they tried some of the like CGI-ish stuff, and those movies didn't get the love, the hits, or anything that the original did, but yet it had the same actors, and the same actors I feel like still did a good job. But you were taken out because you were like, that's not a real whale. That's not, But yet on the other side, Jaws terrified us. He's not CGI, he's animatronic, but he scared the daylights out of us.
And he looked fake. I'm sorry.
He did. He absolutely did. And the first time I watched it, hilarious, was at a friend's house on their old black and white TV. So it had zero impact on me. And then I watched it like a couple of years later, and it definitely had a stronger impact. I decided I was going to watch it with Matthew. When we lived in San Diego, he would not go into the water for like 4 months on the beach. And we watch horror movies together all the time. So there you have it.
So, and that brings us to another question. I want to know what you guys think about this. When they make animals the bad guy, I think this can be irresponsible and dangerous. Jaws, for instance. I mean, people were hunting sharks for decades because of this movie. They're all gonna kill us. They're all gonna kill us. Ah! Destroyed a big part of the ecosystem. Cujo. You're scared of every dog that comes at you. How do you guys feel about them making animals? And do you think that's okay? Is it fair game?
I mean,
they have a whole series on that. And I can't stand them. I'm not a fan of Planet of the Apes, but I mean, I know it's historical and it's it goes back to 70s and the original with Charlton Heston and all the fun stuff, but I mean I just there's an amount of reality, but at the same time there's amount of what, that could really happen. Jaws definitely happening right now every single day.
But led to
Somebody's
irresponsible
getting
behavior.
attacked by, but dogs the same way. I mean, let's take a walk into Pet Cemetery for a minute. Okay.
let's not.
I mean, but do we, a lot of people fear what they don't know or they don't understand. So when we look at those things, oh, I've never had a dog before, but my only experience with a dog is Cujo,
Right.
or some type of junkyard dog situation, or The Sandlot, the story of, whatever. So then you find out that Hercules is just Hercules and he's a great big puppy dog and he loves people, not to eat them, but to love them. So it's hard.
I think having animals as the bad guy, I feel like sometimes that creates a tension that we would not normally get. You look at the movie Quigley Down Under, and there's that scene where she's trying to stop the baby from crying because all the dingoes are coming.
The dingo is the baby. Sorry.
But it creates this really strong, powerful tension that leads to her very strong, independent moment of fighting back. And so I'm not always a fan of animals being the bad guy, but sometimes it does make the movie moments better.
Yeah. Well, psychologically, I mean, we have evolved with wolves into dogs. When we see a dog that goes nuts, in these movies, it's very much a reminder of this is a very thin line we draw, and that's why it hits us, I think, so in our chest, and that's why it's scarier than Freddy Krueger, because this is the one thing on earth you can trust. You may not trust your spouse, you may not trust your kids, you trust your dog. Nobody ever messed with my dog, John Wick.
So that's another one that actually, where having a live animal actually was kind of a negative for them, because there were a lot of women, myself actually included. I don't want to watch the movie because I already know the dog dies.
It's then 2 minutes in.
I know, but it took me years to actually watch them, and now I'm so hooked on them. It's ridiculous because I like action. But I still sit, and they did it brilliantly because I still sit on the edge of my seat because he has a new dog, and I'm like, they better not kill this one. They better not kill this one. So I'm very invested in this dog now.
Well, I don't know about you guys. I'm one of those guys that will sit and watch all of the credits, because
you want to know
from
the
an
dog's name?
Age, either I want to know, I want to see everybody or see all the people or make a point about, man, yeah, you want to be an artist and you want to do movies and TV, join that group of people because there's already 8,000 people doing that. But what's the last thing you see at the very bottom when they thank the little cities or wherever they've been? The National Humane Society comes up at the bottom and says, no animals were harmed during the production of this film. Right. So I sit through and watch that part. But just to kind of add, think about Jungle Book, right? Think about the cartoon version
The
Think
only
about
version
the
you mean?
live action, right? So there's the only version. Like we grew up Disney,
Mhm.
right? King Louis, was he good or bad? Right? So are we afraid to go into the jungle because of things like Bagheera or, you
Aw.
know,
But we should be,
Paw
'cause they
or
will
King
kill you.
Louis?
Yeah.
Like all of these things, like they ended up being the bad. Like, is a black cat really that bad? You know, are we afraid of panthers or pumas or whatever? Like, because of what they've made them instead, like, no, like it's part of the story. Like, you got to
Yeah.
figure that out somehow.
Now, this is I don't know if you guys remember the movie Man from Snowy River. It's just a fantastic movie. Within the first 20 minutes, there is this just incredible scene where first all these logs roll away and the guy's dad dies. I remember this as a child, not a single aw in the audience, no nothing. And then he goes and sees his horse, and his horse died. You would think the people saw JFK happening in front of their face, people
Why are
screaming,
we talking about
crying.
this?
No, well, I just think it's very interesting that we actually, it's society, and I'm not saying it's bad. I don't know what this says about us, but we have the guy's dad, and he's a young man, dies in front of his face. Not a reaction. Horse dies.
I had a little reaction when Dad died. I think it's because I mean animals are like the purest form of the relationships that we develop as humans.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I've been married for 31 years and I love Sean, but we have our ups, we have our downs. My dogs, it's a pure love. Like they don't care if I forget to give them a treat. They're just pure.
Yeah.
And I think that it hurts us a little bit more because we feel like we're losing a piece of our innocence in some way.
That's good.
You know what's crazy? I was doing, when Dub asked me to be a part, of this cast, I started to do my research and I started looking, and there were some videos that popped up, and I saw one video where a dog was like in the initial part of the video, dog was like coming to the window and like leaned up and like nose to nose with the person in the film, and I don't know which one it was, and it cuts away and it actually slides over, and it's a guy in full, got the whole get up, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
like,
the CGI markers.
yeah, all the CGI markers, and I'm like, well, they've come a long way. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, there's the old CGI where it looks like, what in the world? Like, that's kind of crazy. And then, with like, let's go Aslan, right? And
Oh.
all of the CGI versions of whatever in that, to, man, I thought that legit, like I was tied into this dog because he was loving on his master, like in the cutest way possible. I'm like, what, dude? I couldn't even tell that was CGI. Like, that's incredible. So there's I know sometimes they get a little bit far fetched and carried away, but then there's sometimes that you're like, wait, that was CGI. I had no idea,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
So I just
Well,
wanted to throw that.
I think too, like, I mean, it's, I feel like we always live in weights and balances. And like, so I was talking about how it's putting a lot of like trainers and animals out of business as
Mhm.
we move more towards CGI. But the other side of that is it is creating jobs for more people that
Yeah.
are very technology minded.
Mhm.
Um, but it means that I don't get to pet the dog, meet the dog. The dog in Deadpool was real. He's actually up for adoption. So
You're gonna try to get
and
him,
that was
aren't you?
another I think Nikita would think he was a squeaky toy, or I would. But I there's a lot of those cases. It's not just dog pool where these dogs can then be adopted. And I think that it starts to decrease our need. And I think that in some ways we're going to be seeing shelters more full of dogs that need love and homes. And because of this trend We're seeing a lot of what they're calling designer breeds, and they're not. They're just mixed mutts. I have
And they don't
one.
always have the good traits that you wanted out of it both.
No.
Well,
I have a
yeah.
dog that is half pit bull, half husky, and I would never recreate her, but she's the smartest dog I've ever seen in my life. Like, and I say that with all earnestness.
I mean, look what Game of Thrones did to
Mhm.
huskies. I mean, how many huskies have you seen up for adoption? I mean, not so many now, but
Mm.
like, I mean,
Oh,
They are.
I'm in a
here it's
place right
bad.
now where
Yeah.
the homeless count or the unhomed or unhoused count is ginormous.
It still is.
Everybody's got a dog,
Absolutely.
and they've got, and 85% have huskies.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
2020 did that to us too,
yeah,
because
We were
everybody got a
bored.
dog because they were at home. They were all, and now they all went back to work and they realized that having a dog is different when you're not with it 24/7, and the shelters are just overrun and full
Mhm.
because people see something on TV or a movie and they say, "Oh, I want that. I can have that. I own a husky." Huskies are not for the faint of heart.
No, they're
Not
a lot
at
of work.
let me
all.
And don't
Yeah.
own one in
let me do
Vegas.
this
Sorry,
one.
guys.
Don't
Let me do
ever.
this one
That's
for Dub real quick. Dub, you just got back from Florida. What
Mhm.
kind of animals are on the loose out there?
Gators.
You well, there's those, but there's also, when we were in Fort Lauderdale, we went on a cruise and we were headed from the cruise port to the Everglades.
Uh-huh.
And between the cruise port and the Everglades, I counted like 64 iguanas
Oh,
just
yep.
out, just randomly. Like, they're like cats in
But they can
California.
survive. They can
Dude,
survive in that
yeah,
climate.
oh, they can. But we found out that the boom of iguanas was because of Jurassic Park, and everybody went out during Jurassic Park and they went and bought an iguana, and they were like, "Oh, it's such a cute pet to have in a tank," and then all of a sudden
No,
it got
they're boring.
big,
Yep.
and they were like, "What do I do?" So they let it go, and now you have iguanas and giant snakes, and well, there's no better place than South Florida to live because the climate is amazing and they're healthy and they're flourishing, but there's a million of them.
Mhm.
So
So,
that's
yeah.
what I think about animals in movies and TV, that people just don't realize the effect, you know, a lot of times.
Okay,
Right.
and this is kind of where the point of the show I feel like is going. Don't buy a dog or a pet on emotion. No, it is a lifetime commitment. Some of these live 100 years. Some of them live 10 years. If that dog lives 7 years, you better be there every day of those 7 years.
Yep.
It's not, and yes, you fall in love with the dog right away. You fall in love with the cute little kitten and the puppy, and then they not so cute and they're bigger. It is a lifetime commitment. Don't be an irresponsible jerk. That's I, this is my free
Yeah.
statement. Give some money to no-kill shelters while you're at it. If you guys want to do
Yes.
something, give to no-kill shelters.
Yes.
Don't buy a dog from a breeder. Get them from the shelters at this point. I understand everyone wants their type of dog, but there's a lot of dogs that need help.
There are purebreds in
In there, yep.
shelters. Our husky he was from a puppy mill. So first he was born
Ugh.
into the puppy mill, then he was a sire in the puppy mill, and then when he wasn't producing anymore, they abandoned him. Then he was returned twice after that back to the shelter because he had severe abandonment issues until we got him. We've had him for 3+ years. He's in his forever home. But everybody's like, "Oh, I want a purebred. I want a purebred." Well, then look in the shelters because they are there.
And it's a
They
lot of
are,
work.
yeah, because yes, they are absolutely a lot of work. Do your research. Do your research. My favorite charity is Start Rescue. They actually go out and rescue animals from kill shelters. My little grand dog is from there. He turns 12 this year. And so they go all the way from San Diego all the way to Washington, and they rescue these babies when they're getting close to their time, and they bring them to no kill shelters.
Yeah, and don't. Yeah, and if you can't, if you get a dog and you can't handle it, I understand. I'm not going to hate you, but do not take it to a kill shelter. Sorry.
Yes.
Find someone
And
that will
then
love the dog. That's the least you can do is find someone that will love the dog. Oh, you're not going to make a profit? Tough. You paid $2,000 for the dog that you don't like anymore? Tough. You're not going to make that money back. Give it to somebody that will love it. And there are people out there that want whatever dog you want, you have, that have the time,
and then I'm
the
going to be
patience,
on
and the
my
training.
I'm going to be on my soapbox for just a minute.
We're already there. It's all good.
And we're already there. Good. My other thing is if you have committed to this dog, you best be there at the end. I have a friend that works for a vet, and she said the hardest thing is when people drop their dogs off to be euthanized, and the dog is terrified, it's scared, and it doesn't know what's going on. I'm sorry, be brave enough. It hurts like heck, but be brave enough to be there to the very end, because they deserve that. They have loved us. They have been there for us. And I mean, I've got a 10-year-old dog. She turns 10 in September. I'm not going to not be there.
Yeah.
And okay. And I'm too short to stand on a soapbox, so I'll step off for now.
Well, on that note, just like old Yeller when we just killed the dogs, check out the website, www.iheartgeekshow.com. Use the com, we paid extra for it. Give money to no-kill shelters. Spend some time with them if you can. Yeah. Check out the Instagram, the website, the blah blah blah. Yeah, I'm emotional after this one. I'm Dub. I'm here with Christina and Skeeter. Keep on geeking on, guys.
You have been listening to the latest episode of the iHeart Geek Show. Make sure you visit our website at www.iheartgeekshow.com. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you check us out on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And keep on geeking on to all of you geek rock stars.